Hi, Gina.
Hi, Tim. Welcome to Unstretched.
Yeah, here we are doing
Yeah,
Unstretched.
okay, yeah. Okay, so yeah, welcome everybody to our podcast. This is our first podcast.
Very
Um
exciting.
yeah, do we want to talk about well, I who we are. See,
Who we
okay.
are, sure. Who we are. How did we get here?
Yeah, well, so I was thinking of this question. Okay, so you're an artist in New York. I'm an artist in New York, New Jersey. Um, where did we first meet, Tim?
Well, I just want to clarify that I'm an artist in New York, but also in Warwick, New York, too.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So-
No, I'm in New York State.
oh, right. New York State in general.
Broadly,
Sure.
upstate, downstate,
Yeah.
like everywhere in the city, in the heart of it, like
Yeah.
you're everywhere.
Where
Yeah.
did we meet? I'll tell
You,
you where I feel like we first met. I don't actually remember the exact moment, but I do know that in like 2016 or 2015, or maybe even 2014, I don't know, it could have even been earlier. You had a studio in Greenpoint at 250 Greenpoint Avenue, and
yeah.
I had a studio there. And I think someone had told me, oh, Gina Beavers has a studio like just like two doors down from you. And I feel like one day I went over there and I like knocked on your door and I was like, hey, like I'm Tim, like someone said your studio is here. And I feel like we just started chatting that way, I
Oh,
think.
yeah, maybe. I feel like we knew each other before that because I think I saw when was your show where you did the restroom, like the bathroom, the restroom?
Oh, I did the bathroom installation, that was at
Yeah,
Fitzroy Gallery,
Fitzroy.
2014.
Okay, so I definitely knew you because I remember even tagging you and being like, I might have even gone to your after party. Yeah, so
Oh, yeah, you did.
yeah,
But was the
yeah.
studio not in Greenpoint at that time?
No, I don't think
Oh.
I think I know you from, like, way but, I mean, like, I guess that's just the thing, like,
Well,
going to openings and stuff.
when did you curate Pig Party with Andrew Russeth?
Good question, maybe 2012?
Okay, because you put me in that.
Oh, yeah, 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 so I must have known you. We must
Okay, so neither you nor I have any idea of how we
where
actually
we
know each
no,
other. Or
no, no, yeah. But I remember, like, loving your work, loving the, like, the creaminess and the, like, the love of texture and plus all the Greekness because
Totally.
I'm half Greek, so I was like, yeah.
Well,
But
Gina, I have to admit something that's sort of embarrassing, and it might
yeah,
embarrass you, but it's good content.
uh-huh,
That when I first saw your work, you were doing
yeah,
like sort of like raunchy stuff. Like it was like,
mhm,
gross food or like,
yeah.
a boob hanging out or something like that. And I didn't know you at all, but I had seen your name around and like heard people talking about you. And I didn't know anything about you. And I thought that Gina Beavers was like a nom de plume. I
Uh-huh,
thought it was like
yeah,
an art name that was like made up, that was like,
yeah.
Gina Beavers.
Yeah, no,
I remember
totally.
telling someone, I was like, "Oh, that's a fake artist. That's a fake name." Like I don't like that. They're definitely like doing
Yeah,
some conceptual project, that was like Rena
yeah,
Spallings or something like that. And
yeah,
I
yeah.
think when I finally really met you at some point, I was like, "Oh no, it's actually like a real person."
Totally. You are not alone. Like, so many people think that, that it was like a fake thing. I also get like lots of comments about who they pictured I was, and then they meet me and they're just like, "Oh, okay. You're kind of like boring." like,
Yeah.
I don't know. Compared to what I thought, I thought you were going to be like burning down the house.
Or
Like,
like Nina Hagen or some
yeah, yeah,
far out like,
yeah, yeah, totally. And the real story behind the name is that's I actually took Keith's name
right,
because I
married.
thought that we were gonna have kids, and I was like, "Let's all be Beavers." No disrespect to the name, but, like, I just thought, like, it's better if we all just go down with this name and, like,
Sure.
not split into 2 because it's a little bit of a tough name
But
sometimes.
did you take your husband's name before you were really feeling established professionally
Oh,
too?
100%.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
Yeah,
that
yeah,
makes a big difference because I know a
yeah.
lot of women artists, once they are already sort of established, are like, well, I'm not going to take my husband's
No,
name.
totally, totally. Yeah,
What's your
no, it was
maiden name? Actually, I don't think I know.
Dazekis.
See, I didn't know that. Is that?
Great.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
did not know that.
yeah, it has a Z in it. It's, like,
Yeah.
very yeah, so but Dazekis Beavers just sounded I don't know, it's just, like, a lot, you know?
Yeah, that would definitely be a lot.
Yeah, so yeah, well, cool. Yeah, that's a flash from the past, oh my god, like,
It
cra
is. I was just talking, I was messaging with Andrew Russett not long ago, and I mentioned Pig Party, and he was like, "Whoa, like, I can't believe, like, you remember that because that was,
Yeah.
some just weird one-off kind of project you and he put together of, like, submit your worst art for this
Yeah,
show."
so the idea is, like, kind of shady when I think about it
Yeah,
now, like, I don't know if you'd really, because it was, like, based on the idea of, like, a frat pig party where
sure.
there's a really terrible concept, but my concept was I'm gonna invite people to submit their, worst artwork.
I love that. It's like a grad school project kind of idea. Like I
Yeah.
remember in grad school, I went to Parsons for my MFA, and I feel like my professor, if I remember Brian Toll, gave us this project where he was like, make like a really bad work of art or make like a work of art that you would never want associated with
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah.
And there was something kind of liberating. I made really pornographic drawings. Like I would
Nice.
like I made drawings of guys with like giant dicks that were all like adorned with like patterns and stuff. And
Oh
like,
my
it
god,
was
that sounds
really liberating kind of project, I think.
That's so great. Yeah, no, I think it brought out a lot of different ideas of so there were people like John McAllister had, like, his secret painting practice. So they weren't necessarily terrible paintings, but they were, like, not what he was sort of allowed to make, like, in terms of his gallery or, like,
Right.
or he couldn't show them or he didn't feel comfortable showing them. But the one that actually won, I don't know if you remember. Do you remember who won?
No.
Oh, it was Ryan Schneider who shows at, Almeen, right? Yeah. He remade a page out of his middle school notebook where he was, like, mourning the death of Kurt Cobain. So it was like a drawing of Kurt Cobain and then all of this, like, "This is the worst thing that's ever happened in the history of the world," like, very, very dramatic, like, full and he basically recreated it, like, huge. And when we voted that yeah, that one,
Yeah.
best pig.
You know what's crazy is like I have no recollection of what I put in that show. I've no
I know,
I
what did you
I maybe it was like I remember making these bad Milli Vanilli paintings that were, like, based on not the image of Milli Vanilli, but on their outfits that they wore to the
Oh,
Grammys, like, and I made these paintings that had nothing to do with my practice, nothing to do with
yeah.
what I do, and I was like, what the hell am I gonna do with these?" And maybe that's what I had in the show, but I honestly, I totally cannot remember, but
Yeah, yeah. I remember I put in this it it was on, like, a panel, and it was a pregnant woman, and her belly was painted like the earth, but it was so heavy, like, the belly, that I couldn't get it to stay on the wall, so it just became like a sculpture where the belly was, like, on the floor, like, weighting it down, and it was like a little earth, yeah.
sounds perverse.
Yeah, it was really, like, weird, which yeah, so, um, yeah.
Was that your first curatorial sort of
Actually,
foray?
I'm not sure, like, if that I mean, that I'm not even sure if that's like having a party and inviting
Yeah.
everyone to bring something. Because I curated this thing, Leave It to Beavers, with remember Art Blog?
Of course, yeah.
Joshua
Josh
Abelo's thing.
Abelo's yeah, I
Yeah.
love obsessed with it, yeah.
Yeah, at Gallery Diet, which is now Nina
Yeah,
Johnson in Miami,
yeah,
and I had done that. That seemed more like a curatorial, like,
yeah,
this was really just an excuse to, like, do something yeah,
yeah. I
something
love that idea of, like, the in that time period, there were a lot of, like, relational aesthetic, events, Melissa Brown had, like, the poker game, and you bid or you like bet on artwork, like you would bring a work of art to the poker game and whoever won the game would get all the artwork. And
I
I
love that.
stayed
Yeah.
into I held out until like 4 in the morning of one of those until I got so sick. Like I was so sick from drinking whiskey and staying up for like, 23 hours or something that I finally
Yeah.
folded because I was like, I'm gonna die. Maybe Mahalchik won. I don't know who won, but it
Yes,
was like
wait, Tim, I was at that game.
you were.
Especially if Michael Mihalchik won and he won all the crabs, right? Weren't there
Yeah,
crabs?
I
Or
definitely feel yeah.
live lobsters or crabs? He
I
won
don't know.
one.
I mean, I really kind of blacked out at the end because I was so exhausted and like just
Yeah.
wasted that I had to fold and I was doing well. Like I was like one of there were only like four of us left at the end.
I think that was way past me because it was still daylight, I think, when I left. So you
Oh,
must have, like, really done well. Yeah.
yeah, I
Yeah,
did,
yeah.
but I didn't win.
Yeah.
My body gave out. But I love that. Like I love and even back in like I don't know when it was like '07 or '08, Zier Smith Gallery used to do collage parties and
Oh,
I
yeah, yeah, yeah.
went to a bunch of those and we'd all like work in the gallery on big tables and I mean I met so
Yeah,
many people that way and I
totally.
I miss that kind of thing. I feel
Yeah,
like as that th- this is we could put this in a box and talk about it another time, but with
yeah.
the sort of over professionalization now I think of the art world, those kinds of
Mhm.
fictional aesthetic events are just like not happening.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I was gonna say that, you know Henry Gunderson, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, so he's doing a show on Canal Street, and they're doing, like, there have been a lot of, like, figure drawing, like, Anna
Yeah,
Benaroya, I don't know if you know Anna, you know her
I
work,
do.
she had a show at Flag just recently, and,
Oh
she did
yeah, she had the figure drawing thing.
yeah, she makes these really beautiful,
Yeah,
like, highly colored, like, very burly women, like, they're really amazing.
yeah,
Um, and she had a game night, and she also had figure drawing, which was also
right.
really fun. Like, so I think people are trying to bring that are always trying to bring that in, or at least are trying to bring it in now,
Well,
maybe
it's
people will
necessary. I guess
learn.
I'm not really connected with those people then,
Yeah.
but at least in my sort of circle, I feel like that
Yeah.
really been a thing. Or even a number of years ago, like Sarah Greenberger Rafferty and David Kennedy Cutler did like a production line of artwork at Klaus von Nixhagen, and it was
Mhm.
a big community based
Mhm.
thing. And like I love that.
Yeah,
That's what like being an artist in New York it was
Mhm.
like all about for me. I
Yeah. Yeah. That's really cool. Yeah, I really had, like, a breakthrough with Anna's figure drawing because, like, I had
right.
not drawn from a figure since college, literally, and I had a really creepy figure drawing instructor who would, like, take the models, like, into his office after class and, like yeah, it's all really shady. So I think I had sort of had this I don't know, bad association with, like, figure drawing, like, I didn't really think it was, like, a space for me or something. So
I
when sh
got a B minus in figure drawing in college. It was
you
like the
yeah,
worst grade I ever got
yeah.
in college was in figure drawing.
Yeah, or like life drawing. I guess that's
Life.
the life
Yeah.
drawing. And I did actually lead a class in grad school, life drawing, but it was
Oh,
interesting because Anna had like a non-binary model, and like music playing, and it was like such a cool vibe that felt like accepting of everybody. Like, I don't know, in this way that felt safe, in a way that it didn't feel when I went to school, like 20, God,
yeah.
that's how many years ago I was in school, but yeah, so that was I thought
I
that was
actually taught figure drawing a couple of years ago, and the chair of the program was like, "Well, can you teach figure drawing?" I'm like, "Of course I can. Fine, easy.
yeah.
And even though I'm not a sort of really trained natural figure drawer, I actually love teaching it. And the
Oh,
concepts
cool.
of teaching it and the ideas of teaching it were
Mhm.
super fun. And then it got me into sort of drawing a little bit more from the figure. And I don't do it regularly, but it's certainly something that it opened up a space in my mind.
Yeah, that's so cool.
But I want to circle back for a second to that
Yeah.
idea of collaboration because
Mhm.
I feel like, or like working together with people and things, is because, often we as artists are really solitary. We're in our studios working alone. And when you and I started talking about doing a podcast, what really appealed to me about that was that it was collaborative and we'd be
Mhm.
doing something together and we could potentially be bringing on special guests as like a third wheel, and it could become something that was community or collaborative based,
Mhm.
and so that's something that I was like super attracted to about doing this podcast.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, no, totally. I think that's yeah, it's fun also. I feel like we spend a lot of time in our heads and thinking about things, especially in the studio, and it's like to have an opportunity to actually talk about these things with someone in a like more formal way maybe.
Yeah.
It's
Well, because
just
I
nice
feel
to
like
get them out here.
in
Yeah.
September when you and I like went out for a little drink after that talk at Boski, I feel like we had such a great conversation and we were just like spilling the tea like crazy and just like having such a great time that I think that was when
Yeah.
we were like, oh, we should be
Yeah.
podcasting this kind
Yeah.
of thing.
Of course, like trickier to actually put on mic some of the some
Oh yeah, no.
stuff.
I mean, we're not going to go all there, but
No, 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 no. Yeah, 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 yeah. I wanted to ask you, okay, like this is really like going way, way back now though. Cause I feel like we met 10, 20, we don't know, 20 years ago, who knows, in New
Yeah.
York as New York artists, but and you're from New York State originally, like you're originally like
Well, born in Manhattan, like born in the city.
okay,
Uh,
born in the
but
city.
then my parents moved up to Warwick, New York full time, which is where I live now. Like I moved back
Yeah,
to my
right.
hometown in 2018.
Yeah,
But yeah, so I grew up kind of like between New York City and Warwick, like growing up and
yeah.
yeah.
No, and were you an artistic kid? Like, were you into art from like the beginning or
Yeah, I mean, I was
yeah.
definitely like the artsy fartsy kid who was like doodling and like in third grade I started a drawing business where I would draw, you know, for people stuff like and
God.
and I so I was doing that as a kid, but then like come high school, I really started to butt heads with art teachers and I always wanted to do it my own way and go my own way in every project. And I would like fail art classes because I
Mhm.
would do it my own way. And I eventually got kicked out of like this sort of AP college art class in high school because
Oh,
I
Tim.
wouldn't like
Yeah.
follow the
No.
directions. I
Yeah,
just
yeah,
did
yeah.
my own thing. And the teacher's
Right.
like, I can't have you in this class. It's too disruptive. You're too
Oh
much of a
my
rabble rouser.
oh my God, that's
And
amazing.
that kind of made me feel like I wasn't actually an artist, that I was
Yeah.
doing it all wrong. And so when I went to college, I was like, I'm not going to study art because I'm going to fail it and like I'm
Oh,
not good at it. And it sort of like got into my head for a little while.
oh man,
Yeah.
that's wow, that's man, teachers, art teachers, they could
Well, I
do
know you were an art teacher. So
yeah,
you
but like art teachers can do such good things or they can obviously do terrible. I mean, that's terrible. You know. So did you end up like actually you did major in art, right?
Well, I went
Yeah.
to Hampshire College
Oh,
for
okay.
a year because I like the idea of like really no grades and funky sort of freewheeling college study, and I love Northampton and that Western Massachusetts area. And so I went to Hampshire for a year, but I found that actually when you go to a school where everyone is the big weirdo, that you all kind of cancel each other out or you're all competing for like who's the biggest weirdo.
Right.
And so I kind of like hated how Hampshire was like a incubator of like I'm the most creative or weirdest person and I have the
Mm,
craziest ideas or outfits.
mhm.
So my dad was a professor at New York University and he was like, well, if you're not happy there, why don't you come to NYU where duh you can go tuition free
That's
and go to the Gallatin School, which is like Hampshire, where you can sort of make your own study, but it's a little bit more academic and a little bit more, it's like not everyone's trying to like be the coolest, funkiest, craziest person.
yeah.
So I
Awesome.
transferred from Hampshire to NYU, and there in the Gallatin School, I was able to take art classes, philosophy classes, Italian language classes, like,
Mm.
a wide range of like full crazy liberal arts stuff. So that was sort of my undergraduate was largely art stuff because then I studied in Florence for a summer and I decided to stay there and do most of my studying in Italy at the NYU in Florence campus. So most of my sort of college time was in Florence, Italy, and I took photo classes with an Italian photo studio, and I took art classes at an Italian art studio, and I kind of got to immerse myself in Italy and art there and the language. And I lived and worked there for a little while after college, and I thought, well, I'm never coming back to America. I'm Italian now. See y'all later. Um,
Sounds
but it was then that I realized that I couldn't really be like the kind of contemporary artist that I wanted to become
mhm.
in Florence, Italy. So I eventually moved back to New York and applied to grad school and went to Parsons and got my MFA in painting and drawing, and
Yeah,
lived my dream of being like New York City artists.
yeah.
That was really the condensed version.
No, that's so awesome.
Yeah.
That's amazing. The yeah, I love hearing about your childhood art business too, because you do actually still make some things that you sell and,
Well, I do. Yeah, I have a side
like
business called Tim
yeah,
Mateo Tees where I like
yeah,
design drawings of like weird queer icons that I'm obsessed with,
yeah,
like Boy
yeah,
George or
yeah,
Tracy Chapman or Gertrude
yeah,
Stein, and I
yeah.
put them on T-shirts and sell them, which actually, yeah,
Yeah.
it's kind of similar to I guess what I was doing in third
No, I
grade.
just think it's like, I don't know, that's what that reminded. What kinds of things are you drawing in 3rd grade? Sorry, not to
Well,
like
my business was called Inc. INC period.
yeah,
And I wouldn't draw you like a dragon or like what kids really want. I
yeah.
would draw you like a skyrise skyscraper apartment. Like
Oh,
I was kind of into architecture too. I
yes,
come
me
from a
too.
long line of architects in my
Uh-huh.
family.
Oh,
And so everyone, of course, thought I was going to be an architect because, like, all the men in my mom's side of the family are architects,
yeah.
going back a long way. So,
Mhm.
they're like, "Oh, Timmy's drawing buildings. He's going to be an architect." Um, and so a lot of my drawings in ink were like of buildings and mansions. I'd be like, "I'll design you this big mansion,"
That's so
and
great.
kids love that.
Yeah.
Um, but then I flunked
Cool.
math repeatedly, and so, like, the concept of being, like, an architect
Yeah, that's a hard
diminished because you kind of have to have
yeah,
a little bit of a mathematical brain. Less so now, but
yeah,
back then, you really kind of had to have a little bit of a mathematical or engineering kind of brain, and I
yeah,
didn't, and so I quickly sort of was like, "I'm not interested in architecture."
yeah, yeah. I have my own architecture story,
You
which
do?
is that I took that, like, spatial recognition test or whatever in high school, which I think is an engineering test, and placed really high, and they were like, "You're gonna be an architect," because, of course, like, nobody's gonna tell a family, your child is gonna be an artist." Like,
Right, of course not.
they're
No,
like,
they
"You're gonna be an architect." So, Skidmore, Owings& and Merrill, do you know that
of
company?
course,
Like,
yeah.
they sponsored this class for, like, high schoolers at my school, and we would go once a week and sit in their, like, boardrooms, and they would tell us about architecture. But this is the '90s, there were 20 kids, 16-year-olds. I was the only girl.
Yeah, of course,
So
yeah.
I was just like, "You know what? Like, I don't really like that." Like, if I'm and the only women I saw there were, like, the secretaries and stuff, and I was like, "This is not I don't feel like this is" yeah. So, but I did design, like, ugh, such a beautiful little modern home with, like
Mm,
yeah, it was just
love
all these
that.
windows, and it was, like,
Uh,
very simple. We had this little cube, we had to, like, make it into, like, fit everything into this small space, and, like so I definitely identify.
my my day job for 7 years in New York City, like, after grad school and when I was trying to be an artist, I had a day job, like, you have to have, and it was at my cousin's architecture firm, which is called Marvel Architects. It's, like, a really big, fancy firm in the city, and my cousin Jonathan Marvel was like, "You need a job? I'll give you a job." And I was kind of like the materials librarian, office helper person, and everyone in my family thought, "Okay, now Tim's really gonna be an architect 'cause he's working
Yeah.
in the architecture office, and he's gonna leave being an artist behind and become an architect." But I have to admit that working in an architecture office turned me off to it because actually the reality of architecture is you're sitting in front of a computer like 13 hours a day clicking a mouse.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
You're
can
not drawing anymore. You're like
Right, you're
not,
not, like,
you know,
imagining, like, fun
yeah,
spaces, like,
no.
no. Yeah,
It's
yeah, yeah.
total drudgery. And I was like, yep, not going to do that, everybody.
Yeah.
Back to
No,
being a funky
totally.
bohemian artist.
Totally, totally. Amazing.
So, Gina,
Yeah.
what I
Mhm.
didn't know about you and I only recently learned is that you have a very international background as a child, that your
Yeah.
dad worked for the State Department.
Yeah. So, yeah, I was born in Athens, and then, like, the State Department always wants to make sure that you're well, the American State Department. I don't know if other countries do this, but, like, don't forget you're American, so every overseas post, they bring you back to the US, so it's, like, a very schizophrenic, like, live here for 4 years, go overseas for 4 years, come back for 4 years, go overseas.
Wow.
So, I was just like, yeah, born in Greece, lived in Malaysia, lived in Denmark, um, and just, like, totally confused about, like, where I was from or at the same time having this, like, very outsider perspective on the US, like, I can't wait. I remember, like, flying back because I came back for high school, so, like, at the end of 8th grade, flew back from Copenhagen with my family and, like, listening to Madonna Live to Tell. I
Uh,
think it was yeah, on my little headphones on the plane and being like, "I'm gonna walk in high school, I'm gonna have, like, high top sneakers and jeans, and I'm gonna be American."
yeah,
Like, just like, this is yeah, so I have this very, like, desire to be, this deep down, like, American commercialism kind of, like,
totally. The
completely.
American dream.
Yeah, yeah,
But also, like, I like
all
the
the
idea
consumer
of
stuff.
you having, like, this insider outsider stuff.
Yeah,
Like, you're
yeah,
American, you know the culture, but
right.
you also can look at it from a little
From
bit of a
another
yeah.
yeah, yeah, which I think anytime you live anywhere but the US, maybe you get a little bit of that perspective where you're just like and obviously, like, immigrants, people who've moved here, have that their whole lives where they feel like,
Yeah.
"I'm part of this, I'm not part of this," so, like, yeah, for sure.
I don't really consume American news, I mostly just consume Italian news, and so
Oh, cool.
I get a perspective on America from the
Mhm.
Italian news perspective, which is
Yeah.
much more different than what you get if you read the Times or watch NBC News or something.
Yeah.
I'm always telling my husband, Corey, something I learned about America in the Italian news that he's like, "Oh, they're not reporting about that in American news."
Yeah, it's insane, yeah, that's really yeah, depressing
Well,
without
the American news was so depressing, I started to need to take on my, American news through a filter. So
yeah,
that's
yeah,
why so I was
exactly.
like, I'm only gonna watch Italian news because I need
Right,
a
and you can
filter
pretend
through.
you're Italian. I know, exactly, and not actually American.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's so
That
funny.
does give me a different perspective because I do, especially when I was living there, it was during the Iraq War, and so I had, like, a totally different perspective on what was going on in terms of the Iraq War because I was living in
For sure.
Italy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, totally. Well, I think it's also affected, like, my view of art. I mean, the way that, like, I don't know, the subjects that I choose for my art making tend to be, like, consumer objects and like, I just sort of wholeheartedly embrace like, fall into this, like, consuming of every kind of pop culture, and, like, I know that's from always feeling deficient because like, when I came back from Europe in, like, 8th grade, I was wearing, like, loafers, like, I had never worn a pair of sneakers. Like, the idea that you would wear, like, a pair of sneakers to school, like, in Europe, you don't do that.
Totally.
You wear, like, little sweater like, maybe you have a sweater tied around your shoulder. I don't know, it was the '80s, but yeah, I came back, I was like, "Am I gonna actually wear sneakers to school? I am gonna do that." Like,
So where
like
did you actually graduate from high school?
oh, Northern Virginia,
Okay.
DC area, DC
Okay.
suburbs, yeah.
Because I often feel that, like, most people, where they graduate from high school is often where they have a large identification
Mhm.
of, and I wonder if that's true for you. Do you feel like you have an identification with being, like, from there or not at all?
Not really, not
Yeah.
really. Yeah, I have almost no friends still. I went to
Okay.
UVA, which is, like, Southern Virginia. Yeah, I don't know, it didn't really hold, like, a big I mean,
Well,
I've been
so you
in
spent
New
a
York
lot of time in
longer.
Virginia then.
Yeah, we would spend time coming back. It's, like, kind of a suburb, like, I don't know, New York has a much bigger having lived in New York for, like, 20 year this area for so long, that has a much bigger presence, I think, than Yeah, Virginia. So, but, yeah, no, I was having this thought, speaking of Virginia, of my first experience, because like, as a kid, my mom was an art teacher, and I was always very like, "Okay, I'll do the art projects, we'll go to the art museums, whatever, whatever." But, like, I need my own thing. So, like, in high school, I was into theater because I was like, "My mom's the artist," whatever. But I do have this memory in, like, 3rd grade, because you brought up 3rd grade, of working on this project. Do you remember, like, in the '80s, those, like, big, soda bottles that were glass? Like, now they're plastic, but, like, back in the day, in the '80s, we had soda bottles that were just, like, solid glass. Like, they were rounded, but, they
Yeah.
weren't like the old Coke bottles. And our teacher had us make, like, little paper mache figures on these. And I was making a paper mache Garfield in 3rd grade that I kept getting in trouble leaving the classroom to go look at it, like, because we were working on it over, like, a few weeks or
Yeah.
something, and I would, like, ask to go to the bathroom, and then they'd find me down
I
by the
mean, because you
art room.
couldn't get away from wanting to like perfect it and like
I just
keep
wanted to go look at it. I just
contemplating it.
I just kept thinking about it, and, like,
Yeah.
my little Garfield sculpture, my little Garfield paper mache. This whole time when I'm like, "I'm not an artist, I don't care, my mom's the artist, blah, blah, blah," like, my whole life. But I remember getting in all this trouble, leaving the lunchroom, trying to go to the art room to see my Garfield, like,
Do you realize how dedicated you were to like your art practice even at 10
I
years old?
guess that was the first spark of, like, this is a little bit
Yeah.
nuts, like, she just keeps being obsessed with it. Plus, it was also Garfield, again, like, popular culture, like, I feel like that's the very seed of, like, my entire practice. It's like
I feel like 3rd grade though is where if you use it or lose it. Like it like that's where I feel like kids like stop being, all creative and
yeah,
but they're also at their most creative at 3rd grade, but that's like
totally.
an inflection point.
Yeah, well, they said, like, if you most people draw until 3rd grade,
Yeah, that's what
and
I mean.
then have you heard this?
Yeah.
Most people draw until 3rd grade, and then people fall away who
Yeah.
are not into art, and then the artists keep so when people try to draw as adults, they always draw at, like, a 3rd grade level because they
Yeah, when I also tell my college students who are a lot of them haven't drawn since 3rd grade because 'cause they're
yeah,
like, intro, like, college students, and it's like, a lot of them are like elective kind of things. I'm like, "Try to get into the joy that you had in 3rd grade and
yeah,
channel that joy and interest because you have it and it's
yeah,
there. You
right,
have to
right.
dig deep and find that inner child and
Yeah,
start from there."
totally. Well, speaking of, where's your joy right now in the studio, Tim?
My joy in the studio is well, I've been drawing a lot recently. Well,
Mhm,
because I started to bifurcate my studio space. So I have this studio where I am right now,
mhm,
upstate, and this is my like painting studio.
yeah,
And then I have a studio in the East Village now. It's like a live work studio apartment with a space that I can draw in.
mhm,
So when I'm in the city now, a couple of days a week, I'm working on drawing, which I haven't really focused on drawing in a couple of years, like in a serious way. So I've been really loving spending 2, 3 days a week with the pen, with the paper, and actually just getting back into a real drawing practice. I'm still when I'm up here in Warwick, I'm painting, and this is
yeah,
I see this as like my primary studio space.
mhm.
Um, but yeah, so drawing has been super engaging for me.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's great.
But yeah,
That this other opportunity opened for you to,
yeah.
like, have this other side of your practice. I've also been working on paper, like, a lot
Oh,
of small gouaches.
oh, cool.
Yeah, so I
Are you
don't
are you like adept at gouache, or is that like a
so
new
that's totally new. In fact, I ended up making, like, small gouaches of, like, existing paintings when I started because I
it's
was
like
like
practice?
I just to, like, learn it and to, like,
Yeah.
practice. But then I'm
Wait, why
starting
gouache and not like acrylic or ink or
well, what do you think is good on paper? Like, I don't know. I just, like, was
well, I mean, gouache is so specific because it's so opaque. There's no
yeah,
transparency to gouache, and
yeah,
you can layer it really, really interestingly, like in a pop kind of,
yeah,
way.
yeah.
Um,
Well, there's
but it
not.
doesn't blend really well
Yeah.
in terms of any kinds of transparencies or
Right,
like,
right. You kinda have to paint over if you don't like,
yeah.
yeah. But I think maybe that's a good, like, uh yeah, it works for my work kind of, like, to not, I guess I don't need, oh, watercolor, right, you could totally work with
Yeah.
watercolor.
Didn't you used to work with, wait, remember like a couple of, I feel like there was a number of years ago you were making some drawings and were they like craypa, like oil
Oh,
pastel?
yeah, soft pastel, like chalk.
Soft pastel.
Yeah, tons of those, yeah. Those are just, like, messy and, like,
Yeah.
it's a big production. These little gouaches are, like, 9 by 12 or, like, 12 by 16, and I'm, like, hunched over my table with tiny little brushes, like, like, painting, like, I don't know, there's something very satisfying about it, and I don't know if it's winter or, like, seasonal depression or, like, what, but I'm, like, I'm into it. I'm, like,
I think that though, as artists, like every so often we have to kind of switch up a medium a
yeah,
little bit. Like we
yeah,
do get, like I've only ever painted in oil paint. I've
yeah.
never painted in acrylic or watercolor or anything,
Mhm.
but I do sometimes paint in like ink, like black ink, like
Mm.
sumi ink. And
Mhm.
that always takes me to a really different place. I've
Yeah.
never really shown any of that work, but I have a
Mm.
whole tons of flat files filled with like
Yeah, with
sumi
different,
ink drawings that are
yeah,
totally different kind of brain space and hand motion and body embodiment.
yeah, totally. Well, and I think for me too, I'm just, like, trying to, yeah, I don't know. I don't wanna commit to, like, I'm really in a phase of coming up with ideas, so it's like I really want to, I don't wanna commit to, like, a big piece, for new ideas, so I'm, like, slowly working on these like, digital collages, and then I'm gonna turn them into these, but I don't have to spend the kinda time that I would spend on, like,
Wait,
a large piece.
are you the kind of artist who often does like like a maquette of a type before you make a bigger painting, or do you just dive right into a bigger painting? Like, do you make
Oh, no,
studies?
they're all photo collages that I make, or found images. I'm always working from a photograph or a photo collage, like, I'm never just, like, winging it. I would, like, die. I would
See that believe it or not, I am 100% winging it.
You're
Like
winging it? Oh my
all
god,
my
that's,
work, like people think it looks
yeah, that
like I
it's
did it
planned,
all in
yeah,
Photoshop and
yeah,
planned it out. No, it's
yeah,
all
wow.
totally made up on the spot,
Oh my god.
intuitive.
Oh my
It's like,
god.
yeah, it's really frustrating. It drives me
Yeah,
crazy, but I'm not, I don't
yeah,
know, I can't do studies or like
anything
it's like
before.
I get an image of the painting in my head
Yeah.
and then I just execute it. Like it's like it just
It's, yeah, and are you
yeah.
using references or anything? Like, do you have,
Yeah, like I have all these like
okay.
references
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
I search for them or it's
Right,
from my
right.
research or whatever, but
Yeah.
I don't like plan it
You don't
out and
plan it
like
out. Yeah,
no, and
that's
I
really
don't do a
cool.
study or anything like a
Yeah,
big painting like this one
yeah,
that's behind me.
right.
Like it looks very composed and like I could have done it in Photoshop, but like it
Yeah.
totally just like
It
happened
happened while you were,
by piece,
yeah,
like
yeah,
just
yeah.
developed like that. Never been able to I do like a sketch maybe of like,
Yeah,
oh, it might look like this, but it's never a
right.
real like, maquette or a study.
Right, right. It's like you're like an abstract expressionist at some level.
In a weird way, I kind of am like, yeah, the painting just like pops out of
It's,
me and
yeah,
like, yeah, yeah.
yeah, that's really, do you, and, like, having something ahead of time would be, like, kind of, would feel too, like, bossy, or, like, you would lose enthusiasm, or,
I would lose
like,
enthusiasm
yeah,
because I already know what it looks like.
yeah, yeah,
Like here's an interesting problem, and now we're getting more into the weeds of painting, but
yeah,
like you work from a photo,
yeah,
but you don't make photorealist work. You're taking your photo and you're actually really interpreting it a lot by the medium that you put on the painting, by the way you're painting it. Like it looks realistic, but it doesn't
yeah.
really look photo realistic.
Well, do you say that because, you don't wanna insult me, or do
No, I'm saying that because I find that your kind of work in terms of working from an image
yeah,
is what appeals to me
mhm,
because when I see certain painting that
yeah,
looks exactly like the photoed
yeah,
image, I'm like,
yeah,
well, why'd you bother to do it? It
to
looks just
do
like the
it,
photo.
just like a
Like
photo.
you didn't like interpret anything. You're not
Yeah,
giving me your physical interpretation. Whereas like your work,
mhm,
it looks similar to whatever the image was that you worked
yeah,
from. really looks totally different in the end because you put so much hand and
Uh-huh.
and your own point of view and way of working into it,
Yeah.
that to me is when a like a photorealist painting is actually exciting
Yeah,
visually.
yeah. So, no, but what I'm asking is, like, are you not a fan of photorealism? Is that
I'm a fan of photorealism conceptually.
okay.
Like for instance, like
Yeah.
Matt Serletti is one of my favorite painters.
Mhm.
Like his work looks sort of like
Oh, it's amazing.
the
Yeah,
exact image that he
yeah.
made in Photoshop or that he photographed or
Right, right,
something,
right, right.
you know? And when he paints it that way,
Mhm,
there is a part of me that's like, well, why bother? You
mhm,
already made the image exactly how it was in Photoshop. Why
mhm,
do you now need to paint it exactly the same way?
uh-huh,
But with someone with work like his, though, I realized that the paint is not as important as the deadpan humor and conceptual
mhm,
idea of his work, which is what
mhm,
really appeals to me.
mhm. Yeah, I guess
And
yeah. No, sorry, go ahead. I didn't mean
yeah,
to cut you. No, I was gonna say, I guess what appeals to me is that it is a painting of a photo, and I can see the obsession of it. Like, I can see the incredible brushstroke and, like, the meditative quality of that is, like it's and these, like, kind of mundane objects paired with this kind of obsession is an interesting they're rubbing up
sure. I mean, I
together.
could get behind
Do you
that
see what
too.
yeah, that's how I
Yeah.
kind of yeah, what I enjoy about them is that, like, yeah, our whole and the things that he chooses to paint it's like, how do you decide, like, what you're
Well, they make me feel so much. Like his recent show at Karma,
Yes. Oh my
like
god,
made
so
me
good.
feel so weird.
Yeah,
In like, but in a way that like I've known Matt Serletti longer than almost any artist I
yeah,
know in New York. I met him
yeah.
back in 2004 when he was like just showing at Rivington Arms.
Mhm.
And so I followed his work since the very, very, very beginning. And 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 in fact his show at Rivington Arms that was titled Falling Water is to me still the most important exhibition I've ever seen in New York. And it completely changed the way that I paint and think and do every
Whoa, that's amazing. I'll have to
which I'll get to. I'll talk
Yeah,
about Matt Serletti's Falling Water show another
yeah,
time.
yeah.
But the way I feel when I see his work takes me to a place that like not many other paintings do.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. No, for sure. That makes sense. I mean, he's, like, very singular. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I went through that show kind of looking at sort of themes. There was, like, a little bit of sex, like, there were, like, legs,
Yeah.
and there
Well,
was
that's all about like sex, but also like a cup of tea or like a or like the rubber gloves that are really like it's almost like BDSM, but like not for me, thanks.
Yeah, no, I know, but I also thought it was, like, different registers of life, like,
Mm.
like, different then there's his glasses and, like, there are things that are close to him, there are things that are maybe closer to advertising, there are things that are sex, there are
Yeah.
things that are I don't know, I guess it's like a portrait of a life or a portrait of a moment in a life, like,
When I
it
asked him
was
at the
kind of
talk, I went
yeah,
to his talk there and I said, "Matt, like, how many of these images are actually that you took or from your life in a way?" And really,
yeah,
most of them are or were
mm,
like those were
yeah,
his hands in those like
in
black
the yeah,
gloves,
yeah, I'm sure.
and so that's also
Yeah,
really
that's really cool.
because
Yeah,
it doesn't look that way if
yeah,
you don't. It's
yeah,
sort of like Talia Chetrick's work, which is sort of her like everyday life, but it also looks like it's
mhm.
really sort of set up in a way, or it's
Yeah, totally, that's a really good
the rhetoric of fashion photography, but it's also just like her everyday
yeah,
life.
totally. No, that's yeah, well, I'm I know you had some shows that you wanna talk well, we're talking about a show that click it's no longer up, I don't think, the Cerlity show at
Oh
Karma.
yeah, Matt Soleil show is over. Yeah,
Yeah, but I saw a show so this was, like, kind of posing, an issue that I okay, do you have this vibe when you go to see a show and all you can think about is the inside baseball of it all and not the actual work, where you're just thinking of, like
Gina, that is all I can think about.
Okay.
I mean, I feel like like we could get into this at
Uh,
the end of the podcast, but
yeah,
like our podcast is called Unstretched, but it
yeah.
easily could be called Inside Baseball.
Yeah, right, right. No, I feel okay, so, um Nicholas Party show at Karma. Karma, again, at the center of the conversation. Um, but what's funny is I've been working on these little gouaches of existing works. Well, the show at Karma by Nicholas Party is all, um, small oils, like very like, almost miniature of existing works of his. Like, so he makes large, pastel drawings usually, on paper or, different surfaces, I think. But
Right.
these are all like very small oils of existing works of his. And yeah, what did I think? I thought that there were some really beautiful works in this show, but was focused on the fact of the scale of it and the idea that you're copying previous work as a marketing and like more about saying more about art economy and the fact that the art world is going through whatever the hell this like correction, art market correction. I don't know. That he was making these small, so then therefore the price could come down a lot.
Yeah. Well, he's definitely an artist who suffered from like huge price inflation. I mean,
Mhm,
his works, went from sort of being nothing to,
mhm,
tens of hundreds of thousands of dollars, which is
mhm.
its own problem. And then he sort of became like a pastiche of himself. Like, like
Yeah,
you knew what you were going to get all the time, or it was always like, oh, I got to one up what I was doing before. And, so I saw the show at Carmen. I appreciate sort of a lot of mechanisms of it, but
yeah,
I was also
yeah,
very skeptical because I'm like, Nicholas Party to me now has almost become like a brand that like
mhm,
I
yeah,
don't even know that a human does it anymore, sort of thing, which is
yeah,
a little sad when it gets
yeah,
that way. And it's like, how do you really humanize some? Like I remember going to his opening at Hauser and Wirth like last year, 2 years ago, and they were like TV cameras filming in there, and it was like such a
yeah,
pop spectacle. And I was like, what the hell is
mhm,
this? Like this
yeah,
is
yeah,
stupid. Like this is like gone way away from
yeah,
anything real or,
yeah,
you know.
yeah, no, totally. What did you think? One thing that sort of made me crazy about the show, even though again, there were some really lovely paintings also that I appreciated. The title. What do we
Oh,
say
I
about the title?
remember.
Dead fish.
Oh,
You know what's crazy about it is like it's not in the press release at all.
yeah.
So you're just sort of left to wonder like
Well, nothing stinks worse than a dead
no,
fish.
but also how do you define the term dead fish?
Well, I feel like my immediate reaction to dead fish is either sending like a dead fish to somebody as like a sort of mafia vendetta, like, kill
Yeah,
you,
yeah,
or Benjamin Franklin who said nothing smells worse than, house guests after a week in dead fish.
yeah, totally.
Um, So to me, I'm like, oh, that's something that's worn out its welcome. So maybe that's some kind of like psychoanalytical title where he feels like he's like worn out his welcome as this kind of art star and is trying to dial it back or,
Yeah. Yeah.
and,
I mean, my interpretation is Urban Dictionaries, which is bad in bed, basically.
oh,
That's how I've
oh,
always
okay.
thought of a dead fish. Literally, that's what I
Oh,
think a
yeah.
dead fish is, and I'm like,
Well, I don't think
"What is
Nicholas Party is sexy personally anyway. So
well,
sure.
no, but I'm like, but I mean, all of these different meanings, I guess maybe you could say that's the idea behind the title is like, oh,
Yeah.
it could be all these different and it is a painting that he's recreating. But I was just like,
No, I also,
as a woman, I was like, dead fish, like a man who's a dead fish is like, has no
yeah,
passion, has no like, soul, like is just a dead fish, is like, passionless and
yeah,
yeah, cold and nothing. It was just like a strange thing, and I thought the fact that and maybe it refers to some political moment or like,
yeah.
I don't know, but I thought it was
Well,
bizarre that it wasn't mentioned or at least kind of expanded upon in the press release or
Eh,
anything, so
I didn't think of that, but that's definitely, pun intended, food for thought. But there's a lot of great painting shows in New York right now. Like you and I hit up a bunch together
Mhm.
the other night. Like we went to Magenta Plains and saw Becky Coleridge show
Yeah,
and Alex
totally.
Bartler show.
Yeah.
Those were both very.
Yeah.
interesting takes on very different styles of painting.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I'm more of an Alex Kwartler kind of fan. Like I
Mhm.
like
Yeah, for sure.
conceptual,
Mhm.
strange, but in a intellectual sort of way, well painted, but also kind of loosey goosey.
Mhm.
I wish that I could have gone to his talk with Jacqueline Humphreys. I
Mhm.
couldn't make it to that, but that to me was like a dream team
Mm.
talk.
Yeah,
Jacqueline
totally.
Humphreys, unbelievable.
Yeah. Yeah. No, those were great
Yeah.
paintings. I wanna give shout outs to 2 shows I saw that are not actually technically painting, but are have painting. Because 'cause I'm not, like, a painting purist at all.
Oh no.
I like to see a lot of other stuff too, and
I
also
mean, I do too, but I'm
no,
partial.
I'm not saying you don't. I'm just saying, like, I'm not, I think you can see by my work that I'm torn about just
Yeah.
purely painting. I mean, um, so I the Andrew Lord show at Gladstone, really beautiful ceramics and all the really interesting palettes, and they go back to, like, the '70s or '80s, like, the way they have them installed, they're figures, they're these, like, kind of surreal tableaus, they're flowers, they're figures together, like making out and making out. That's so sweet that I said making out.
Yeah.
But and also Stephanie Temaheyer at Anton Kern, which those are like if you took my work and split it in two between a three-dimensional object and a
Yeah.
painting, I think you'd have like Stephanie's work, which is like paintings kind of encased in these like very 3D ceramic frames. So they're
I know it
like
looked like, but I haven't neither of those shows I've seen, but
yeah,
they were sort of on my list of things that
yeah.
especially the Gladstone one.
Gladstone is easy because it's if you're over at Boski,
Yeah.
you can full disclosure,
Yes, we have to fully disclose our
I'm represented by Boski and you yeah, how what is your connection to Boski?
associate director there. So that's not how either Gene and I
Who's the
are way before
associate?
that.
Who's the
My husband's
your
an
husband. Yeah,
associate
sorry, I
director
think
there.
it got cut off, sorry. Cool, yeah. So final thing before maybe because 'cause we're getting close to the time, but, like, I had noted down I don't know, I know you have, things to talk about too, but I feel like we should talk about that Diva Corp since we were just talking about painting. And I was being, like, kind of, "I'm not a painting purist," but we could talk about, like, um, a Diva Corp's post, which if you haven't seen it, go read it, but it was basically like to summarize, like, why are you painting, especially with everything that's going on and blah,
Yeah.
blah, 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 blah. And then hundreds I just lay in bed the one night and read all the comments because they were like,
Oh, I haven't done that.
"Oh,
Oh,
that's super fun." Yeah, sorry. To read and you recognize, like, Cindy Danielle was in there
of
and
course. Yeah. Cindy
Brian
always
Balot yeah, like, a lot of people, like, chiming in and so it was kind of fun, but, um, what do
Cindy's got a show coming up at Only Gleason,
Oh,
like,
cool.
which I'm gonna check out.
When is it opening?
I think it opens, like, next week or
Oh
this
my
week
god, okay, so I'm gonna
or
write that down.
something, I don't
Yeah, yeah,
know.
I love Cindy's work. Uh,
My god, but Gina, the question of why are you painting right now? I mean, that actually could be a whole other podcast
yeah, yeah,
episode
yeah, for
too,
sure.
because I have so much to say about that.
Yeah, yeah, to actually get in there, but, like,
Yeah.
also the question could be why art, period? I mean, isn't that why art when there's upheaval, period, you
But
know?
dude, that's what reminds me of like talking about like posts like Francis Stark had that post like a month ago that was like, why am I making art? Like I feel like it's all for nothing. Like she made this sort of like amazing meltdown post that I think everyone was like, whoa, you're like, isn't this crazy? Like what's going on in the art world? Like, why are we doing this? And that was when you and I were first started talking about the podcast and we were
Yeah,
God, we have a lot to talk about because the art world's really going through it.
yeah, for sure, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, my thoughts I don't know how closely you follow Diva Corp.
I followed them for a while, like as
Yeah,
long sort of when they've been up, but it's sort of more LA oriented.
yeah, it is pretty
And
LA.
all my LA folks that were like, told me about it and comment
Yeah.
stuff. But I'm not like all up in their stuff.
Yeah,
But
no, I mean, I think part of that is a function of, like, being in a social media account on Instagram, basically, and everything you're seeing is painting, right?
yeah,
So you're going there. So some of this effect of like, "Oh my god, I'm overwhelmed with painting, stop painting, that's enough," is literally the algorithm,
Yeah.
is literally I also think, like, maybe we're discovering that painting is much more of a popular art form than we ever realized because of these social networks. Like, we're seeing all these people who make painting, some of it better than others, but, like, tons of people just getting on there, every student for
Well,
sure.
because social media is a two-dimensional system, so of course two-dimensional work looks best on,
Right, of course, yeah, so I think, like, part of their angst, their cry is, like, they're just getting inundated with it because it is really but that doesn't necessarily mean I don't know, um, but I also think, like, do you ever wrestle with why painting? Like, do you ever
No, because I definitely paint and make art because I don't know really what else to do.
Mhm,
And it's something I'm so driven and called to make images, make two-dimensional images that to
yeah,
me it's like why painting? Well, why breathe? Why
yeah,
eat? Why
right,
dress?
right, right,
Why heat
yeah,
your home? Like, like I for me it's almost like it's almost an inane question.
uh-huh,
But I do question why paint the way that you do dot dot
mhm,
dot.
right,
Why is
right,
someone painting,
right,
and you see all these like trends and stuff and you're like, "Oh, are they just painting like Bernard right now because they think that's going to sell?" Like, or
yeah,
is that I'm always
100%.
looking for the artist who's sort of painting because they have a true voice and they absolutely it's like an essential thing to express that voice.
Mhm. Yeah. No, I mean, I personally definitely think why painting. Like, I definitely am like if I were to think about work that I think like moves the needle or like changes culture or something, I would think about somebody like Cameron Rowland. Do you know his work?
No.
Oh yeah. Well, he's done some really interesting projects. He repurposes like prison furniture from like courtrooms, things that, prisoners, in the in US prisons make. So, like, they make, benches in a lot of our courtrooms in this country, and then he'll use the benches, like, in his installations. He does all this deep research on, like, the monetary systems and the history of slavery, and, like, it's just, like, extremely, like, meaningful and, like, uncovering he's won a MacArthur Genius Grant, so, like,
Ah,
part of it. But but I'm like I think about somebody like that, and I just think, like, yeah, I mean, painting at least my painting can't, so I definitely think, like
but see, I think that like painting like yours or painting like mine or work like his, it all has a place in society. It all has a reason for existing, and I think just because an artwork is sort of politically expedient in an obvious way, like I think my work is very political. It doesn't
Mhm,
necessarily appear that way in this obvious hit you over the head kind of way, but I
mhm,
think your work is very political and oriented towards like really hot button kind of issues, but and I feel like that's what makes the work alive and
mhm,
relevant, but I don't know, I also sometimes think that, yeah, you can make a just a beautiful painting, why not?
mhm.
Like
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I guess, yeah, I don't know,
but the idea of painting to me is what sort of gestated a little bit of the idea of the podcast title Unstretched, because both you and I are painters and we largely work on some kind of substrate that's like a fabric. Usually, like you've often worked on like linen or around a harder substrate, and I always work on canvas. And I love the idea of like when something becomes unstretched, it's
Mhm,
like after, like
mhm,
maybe the painting didn't work and so you unstretch it to like
mhm,
destroy it, or the painting is not stretched yet, it's still
mhm,
unstretched, meaning it's not completed or finished. And I like that painting language, like the rhetoric of painting about like, well, that's what we're kind of doing in this podcast too. It's like
mhm,
this liminal space between like finished, unfinished, formal, informal, like,
mhm.
but I like the container still of like painting or art world.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, I think about Unstretched in the context of painters who I mean, I think choosing to paint Unstretched is either, like, a practical concern, like, you don't wanna, commit to something or you don't wanna deal with stretching it until after, or, like, what scale, it frees you up in practical ways, but there are also, like, people like, like Carrie James Marshall or, oh my god, why am I forgetting Nancy Sparrow's husband's
Liam Golub.
Leon Golub, who painted huge
Yeah.
things, who continue to paint just on unstretched canvas as a way for unstretched canvas to be a sign of, like, anti-establishment, like,
Absolutely.
anti this, like,
Yeah.
formal kind of, like, what you expect, and I appreciate that. And on that note, we have 10, 9, 8, 7.
Are we down to 1 hour now?
Yeah, bye, Tim.
All right. Bye, Gina. Until
Bye.
next time.
Okay. Okay, thanks.